Hello you guys, and welcome back on my channel, or for those of you discovering me through this special video, welcome! Today's video is going to be a little bit different from what I usually put out on my channel, but it's something I've been meaning to do for quite some time, and I finally decided that now is the right time to do it. In this video, I will be talking about my experience as coming to terms with the fact that I'm asexual, because there aren't a lot of videos out there on YouTube speaking about this specifically, and I thought it could be interesting to share my journey and hopefully help some people out there who might be questioning, who might be unsure of what they identify as, or who might be afraid that they're never going to be loved and that they're alone. Yeah, so let's go. Before we get into the tea, I just wanted to clarify what asexual means in case some people in 2022 still don't know, or if you're just a casual viewer of mine and you have no idea what this sexuality is. Asexuality is basically the lack of sexual attraction. Just like sexuality, asexuality is a spectrum, so there are many ways you can identify as ace. I personally use the term ace because it's the more mainstream one, I guess. I do have a micro label, and if I were to engage in discussions with other fellow asexual people, maybe I would use this specific one because it's closest to my experience. But in my everyday life, when the subject of my sexuality comes on the table, I just say that I'm asexual. I feel that one of the struggle when you're starting to question yourself and you're pondering over whether you're asexual or not is that, in contrast to being gay or being a lesbian or being bi and any other sexualities I didn't name just now, the process of finding out is very different, because if you're gay, you're just basically asking, who am I attracted to? Who do I want to hold hands with? Who do I want to kiss? Who do I want to do stuff with, you know? And sometimes, if you know yourself well enough, if you don't lie to yourself, the answer is pretty clear, it's pretty obvious. And from a biological point of view, it's pretty obvious who you're sexually attracted to or not. But like I said, it's kind of hard to explain even now, but just try to understand that the process is way more difficult. When I was a child, I used to have crushes on boys all the time, or what I thought were crushes. Now that I look at it through an asexual lens and through a queer lens, I can just honestly say that the heteronormativity that was shoved in my face in media just made it so that every time I was friend with a guy and I liked him a lot, I thought that automatically it meant that I was in love with him and that we should be together. Which is kind of fucked up, because when you think about that, I had that mindset at 4 years old, which is really, really young. Even since I was little, I always wanted to be close to guys, socialize with them. I used to be, and I still am to some extent, what you would call a social chameleon. So yeah, I used to always socialize with boys. I would also hang out with the popular kids. I would hang out with the bullied kids. I would hang out with pretty much everyone. I started to question whether or not I was straight when I was around 13, 14 years old. But when I looked back on some of the stuff that happened in my childhood, I can already see signs of how gay I was, basically. Like the silly little crush I had on Kylie Minogue, and just how obsessed I was with watching Beyonce, Britney Spears, and like all the music videos I could find. Like I would legit spend hours watching Christina Aguilera, Your Body, and I don't know, I was obsessed with that song. I was obsessed with the MV, and it just, she was hot, okay? She was hot, and she's totally my type even today. So like, young me, she already knew what's up. There was also the fact that whenever we would play around with girls my age and, you know, like play pretend, I would always have the boyfriend role. When we used to do rendition of Romeo and Juliet, I will always be Romeo. And, you know, there were just little signs there and there that I was more interested in girls. And then when I was 14, I had this massive crush on a girl I saw in a theater performance at my school. It was just something with, I mean, her charisma, the aura, there was something about her a kind of energy she emanated. It was just a lot, a lot to handle. And I remember like little 14 years old me who had a boyfriend at the time, because yeah, something I also didn't say is I sadly suffer from what most queer kids suffer from in high school, which is every time I had the audacity to be friends with a guy, and we were good friends, like, you know, there were like sparks in a friendship type, like we would really get along well. There was always this peer pressure of, oh, you like each other and you like spending time with each other so much, you must be dating, you must be having crushes on each other, right? And at the time when I was 14, there was this guy who I really enjoyed being around, who was just a really nice friend, and I know he also saw me as a friend, but our friends just push it so badly that we ended up being like, yeah, you know what, I guess we can date. And so we did it. And I remember that at the time, since I was 14 and I was more mature than when I used to have boyfriends when I was younger, I remember that every time we would kiss, it would be just the most dreadful thing ever, because I didn't feel anything. But that's the thing though, I didn't feel anything. Like, I wasn't disgusted. It was like kissing a wall, honestly. And so with that and my crush on the girl in the theater play, I started questioning, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm bisexual. Like a lot of people, bisexual was a segue for me into discovering my real sexual identity. Of course, I'm not saying that bisexuality is not valid. You can totally identify as bisexual and like never change that label. You can also just think you're gay and then understand you're bisexual. There is nothing wrong with that. But for me personally, since I was so convinced that straight was the default, I just assumed that since I was starting to get feelings for girls, then maybe it meant that I was bisexual. And as time went along, I slowly understood that no, I really don't like guys, like I'm not interested in them. And then I started calling myself gay, and I was just living my life, waiting to have a girlfriend and, you know, like finally live all those things I had been reading in fan fictions and everything. And then I think I was like maybe 17 or 18-ish, I had my first girlfriend. She was like a friend of mine by extension, you know, since she was the sister of my friend. And we used to hang out, and we had that kind of flirty banter between the two of us. And she identified as bisexual. I think she still does today. And I remember that at the time she had kind of a crush on me, but she also had a crush on a guy from one of her class. And then because I didn't speak about my feelings sooner, she kind of dated him for a while, but then she heard about my feelings for her and she broke up with him, and then we started dating. And yeah, okay, my life was a teen drama, I know. This is really, really, really ironic considering how much I hate that sort of drama in TV shows, but yeah, that's what happened. And we dated for a while and it was okay. Now that I think back on it, I think that we both were more friends than crushes, really. At least that's how I feel today. I really quickly became aware of the fact that I didn't feel anything when I was kissing her either. Like, I really enjoyed spending time with her. I enjoyed getting to know her. I enjoyed other types of affection. I enjoyed hugging her. I enjoyed petting her hair. I enjoyed her kissing my cheek or stuff like that. But every time we would like kiss on the mouth, like real kiss, and every time we would fool around a bit, I just didn't feel comfortable. And this is the thing that it's really hard to explain, because it's just something you feel. And it's the same way it just felt wrong when I was kissing my boyfriends back then. There it felt wrong as well, but not the same type as wrong. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like somewhere in my brain I knew that the problem wasn't that she was a girl. The problem was just that I didn't want this to be happening. I didn't want to be kissing her. I didn't want to be filling her up and her filling me up back, you know, like I didn't like that. And because I have always been pretty informed and mature about that sort of thing, I just started researching, I started Googling, and I had heard of the term asexual before, but I didn't really think it fitted me before. But after doing some reading and going on asexuality.org and just getting to know the experiences of other fellow aces people, I got more and more convinced that I was indeed ace. And I remember that at the time I had a conversation with her because I wanted to be 100% honest and transparent, and we tried to talk about what this meant for the future of our relationship. And I'm glad we were able to have that conversation, and our relationship died out a couple of weeks after that, but for different reasons that I will not get into because that's her personal life. So my trajectory as a queer person went from thinking I was straight, then thinking I was bi, then identifying as gay, and then figuring out that it was even more complicated than that. I was ace. When I found the word asexual, I remember finding comfort in that word because I never struggled with my sexuality before. The way I just understood and listened to myself was pretty idealistic, I want to say. Like, I didn't struggle with internalized homophobia at all. I was lucky enough to have pretty understanding friends. The relationship I had with my mom was tense for a couple of years, but it's all good now. So, I didn't have a tragic coming out story or a tragic coming out journey. Of course, I came across some homophobic people in my life because, we can live in a bubble, right? But nothing that really stayed with me. But still, I remember that at the time when I didn't know what the fuck was wrong with me and I started to look into the word asexual, I remember feeling just overwhelmingly happy and safe because there was a word that explained what I was feeling and that guaranteed that I wasn't insane. It was something that other people experience as well. And when you're asexual, like I said, the coming out process and the questions you're asking yourself, it's very, very different from any other sexuality. It's a very lonely experience because you don't have anything to draw from, because asexuality is a lack of something, So I remember that when I started opening up to my friends about it and asking questions to people and they would tell me their experiences, I was just flabbergasted, honestly, because every time I used to read in books and fanfic, like those feelings they felt in their belly, the heat, the warmth, the pounding of the heart, the chills, stuff, I always thought it was poetic. Unconsciously, I knew it was the way I was supposed to feel, but I felt such a strong disconnect with all the experiences in my life, because every time I thought I had a crush on a girl or found a girl pretty and everything, the reaction I got, they weren't visceral, it was more an intellectual thing, I would think, yes, that girl is really pretty and she's really, really attractive, but I didn't feel it, When I was growing up, I always felt that kind of disconnection with other people. I remember that even when I was younger, just before bed, when I used to play scenario in my head, I was never the subject of those scenarios. I was always the camera, kind of, I was always the author. Maybe that's also a writer thing, that's a possibility, but I never myself was a character in the stories in my head, and that's the way I also feel towards life and towards just sex in general. I'm fine with it happening there, as long as I'm not part of it. I would say that I'm sex repulsed for me personally. I really don't see myself engaging in any sexual activities. I just don't want that. But I'm not sex repulsed in the sense that any sexual scene in a movie is going to make me uncomfortable, or that talking about sex is going to make me uncomfortable. But I have noticed that it's way easier for me when the sexual things are fictional. When there is a sex scene in a movie, if it's done tastefully, it's not going to bother me at all. And same things with sex in real life. I crack jokes all the time. I crack the most sex jokes out of all the people in my friend groups. I noticed that whenever this happens in real life, conversation, I'm fine, as long as it's people opening up because maybe something is wrong and they're worried they're not doing something right. Those kind of conversations I can handle. And I can handle jokes oh, that's what he said, blah 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 blah, or title of your sex tape. But when it comes to real stuff, I don't want to hear about my friend's sexual life. I don't even feel comfortable if they joke about it. If one of my friends is, I don't know, drunk and saying that she likes doing that type of thing in bed, I just want to leave. I want to go in a corner and cry, honestly. It makes me so uncomfortable, and I cringe a lot. I have no problem watching people kiss on screen or writing about it, but I know that from personal experience, I just don't like kissing, but I love affection. I love physical affection. I'm so needy. If I really love someone, I'm always going to be needing to be touching them in any way. Like I will have my head on their shoulder, I will have my leg shown over their leg, I will hold their hand when we're walking down the street or even just like sitting. I need to be close physically with the people I love, and I love hugs, which is why if I have to be specific, I would use the label asexual to define myself. The hardest thing when you're asexual and you know, like living in this society is feeling like you don't exist. We're always talking about pushing representation and having like more diverse people on TV and everywhere really. It's still just very sad when I think about the fact that I have no one in media who I can relate to. Like there is no one. Even today in our society, the way people always link love and sex is just tiring. And the way people also tend to put romantic relationships above any other kind of bond you can share with someone. The way romantic relationships on screen can only be portrayed with sex or with kissing and stuff, like it's sad, and it does make me feel invisible because like I haven't seen my story anywhere. And maybe that's because I need to be telling it. Like I need to be telling my story. Maybe that's what's the problem. Maybe creators who are ace don't have enough of a platform yet. And hopefully this is going to change because Alice Osman is still a very big part of our culture today. And I know that they're going to try with the ace and the arrow representation in Heartstopper Season 2. And I cannot wait to see what this is going to be about. But I would say that living in this world while being asexual is very lonely, and I don't know when this is going to stop. And it's very hard because every time you think about getting into a relationship, you have to do this whole coming out thing and explaining again. Like you have to ask yourself very hard questions, and sometimes at a really young age. Like think about how terrifying it is that I had to ask myself, if my partner wants to have sex and I don't, do we open the relationship? Do we break up? Do I force myself for them? Like it's really messed up that I had to ask myself those questions. And there is no one to blame for that. It's just a sad truth. But I would say that the hardest thing I have enjoyed as an asexual person is feeling that I don't belong in the queer community. And that's really funny because I was talking about this to a friend the other day. I think that for me personally, I experience way more comments and indiscreet questions and judgment from queer people whenever I would tell them that I was ace, that from straight people. And I will even go as far as to say that I was more bullied for being asexual than for being gay, which sucks. But in the end, I would say that I live pretty well with my asexuality. I talk about it openly with people whenever the subject is brought on. I'm not ashamed of it. I know it shapes the way I see the world and the way I relate to things, but it hasn't impacted me that much. I think that the beautiful thing about being asexual is the way that I experience relationships. I feel like there is such a special way to care about people when you're asexual, because the lines between what is romantic and platonic are really blurry and they kind of merge sometimes. So I have friends, really, really close friends, who most people think I'm dating because we're just all over each other, in the sense that we're always hugging, I'm always leaning against them, they're always petting my hair or like kissing my cheek, and it's just great to have that. And I love the fact that I can care about people so much and like love them and give a lot of myself to them and to the relationship and nurture the relationships and make them bloom into those beautiful, beautiful friendships. I feel like I'm able to love more fully than I would be able to if I wasn't asexual. Maybe that's only me personally, and maybe it has to do with other parts of my personalities and it has nothing to do with me being ace, but I really, really treasure it because I know that I don't see relationships the same way. And even though the experience can be lonely and scary at times, at the end of the day, if I had a choice to change that about me, I don't think I would do it because I like that part of myself. And along the years, I made such wonderful bonds with people that I hope I will never lose, and I don't feel I will ever lose. And even if with time we need to adapt because they have partners or families and stuff, I just know that they're always going to be there for me, the same way I'm always going to be there for them. And that's pretty special, I think. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. I hope this video wasn't boring. I hope this could help some of you if you having doubts or questions about your sexuality. I would like to end on a few words. You're not going to be alone, and there is going to be love in your life. Whether it's romantic, whether it's platonic, whether it's friendship, whether it's family, you will never live in a loveless world, and I hope you know that. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoy reactions, you can check out my channel because I have made reactions to quite a few queer shows. You can also follow me on Twitter. I just changed my username quite recently. And yeah, like I said before, thank you so much for your time, and see you next time. Bye!